Hello. Arthur Mitchell, the first African American ballet dancer with the New York City Ballet, said when he was asked, "What does dance give to you?" He said, "The freedom to be who you are and do what you want to do." Freedom is an expression, and that is something Sakshi has always believed in. This Independence Day, let's appreciate individuality while collectively preventing harm against persons who aren't given that safe space.
Today,
Oh,
we at Sakshi are very glad to have with us Christopher, who is the emblem of the Kalakshetra Bani, evolving with time and a representative of it in the 21st century while adhering to the grammar of the style, his aesthetics, and the open creativity which allow him to bring forth fresh perspectives and interpretation. A next generation performer and a true representation of the new traditions of old and of old. Born and raised in Perth, West Australia, Christopher's love and passion for dance led him to be world-renowned institute. I'm so sorry. Allowed him to be included in the world-renowned Institute Kalakshetra, training under the guidance of veteran dancers of India such as Leela Sampson, Braga Bessel, Pushpa Shankar, Srijit Krishna, and P.T. Narendran. Christopher has synthesized all these experiences into his dance practice. He passionately strives to seek the truth of the form through integrated practice in an attempt to become more than just a performer. He truly believes in sharing with the world everything that is beautiful and derived from a synthesis of dance, music, art, and the experiences of life.
Hi, I'm so sorry. The power just cut out. I'm not even joking.
oh wow.
I just had,
Okay.
I just had to swap to my phone and laptop, and I'm outside. Sorry.
It's completely okay. Are you okay now?
Yeah. I'm just outside, so they may be honking, and I'm apologize, but my house is too dark to be inside right now.
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I'm so happy to be here. I hope I can share and contribute a little bit to the conversation you've been having all day.
So you've always been known for your expression and I mean for how expressive you are, especially through your dance. But if you had to describe yourself using three words, what would they be?
Myself or my dancing, because those are two different things.
Yourself.
Myself, hyperactive, restless, highly enthusiastic about procrastination. I think those would be the three things that summarize me as a person most of all. I don't think they're words like love, laughter, happiness. Like they're what everybody else is like, regular things. I don't think there's anything special at all.
And how would you describe your dance?
Again, hyperactive. I think I don't know. I when you ask me to describe it in three words, it's very difficult. But I just love dancing. It's very simple. It just how it makes me feel is it makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like myself a lot, and it makes me feel tired. Those are it. That's what it is to be a dancer. You're constantly tired and dehydrated. So those would be the three for my dance.
So when it comes to dance, procrastination isn't a problem.
Oh no, it's a huge problem. What are you talking about? I encourage procrastination in every facet of my life. There isn't one where I'm not like. I think dance is procrastination. I think that, sometimes when I'm not in the mood to practice and I'm dancing, I'll start procrastinating while dancing. I'll start doing something that isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, but sometimes those thoughts take you to the most wonderful things. You have no clue. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I myself am not one of those dancers that's like, I enter the room and I'm focused. I'm very much like, okay, let's jump around, let's see what happens, and let's see where this goes. I mean, yeah, and I think that that process for me is more organic than being like, super focused. And when I have to be super focused, I can be, but I prefer to enjoy my dancing and prefer to just like, revel in that kind of nonsense, really, I think is the best way to describe it is, yeah.
So, how has lockdown been treating you? Is this restlessness having no outlet? And I also see that you're part of a lot of panel discussions. So, how is that for you?
The discussions are good. I haven't been in too many, I hope, but they've been relevant. Lockdown has been tough. I mean, Australia closed its borders very quickly, which meant getting home became very, very impossible. And so Chennai is my second home. It's not a bad thing. I'm not upset, but you kind of miss your mum when you can't actually see your mum legally. So that's been tough. Watched a lot of Netflix, a lot of Netflix. I watched Gossip Girl to full. I watched the whole
Oh
six
my
seasons of
god.
Gossip Girl. It is so
I did
good.
too.
I was living for it, right? At the end, when you find out who Gossip Girl is,
Gossip Girl
I was like,
is.
this was not a waste of 120 hours of my time. Like, I was like, it was worth it, damn it. So, it's been TV, lots of eating, practicing when my mind is ready to do it, trying to push myself, but not forcing myself. Trying to work on reigniting a passion for dance that doesn't stem for the need for it. I think that that's a huge mind shift for a lot of people that are dancing now.
So, what does freedom mean to you? Like on Independence Day. So, what does freedom mean to you?
I think it's a lot of things. Freedom, as I'm Australian, I'm a pseudo Indian in the sense that I'm, you know, um, but I think that freedom is finding the freedom within a lot of things. Though there are constraints around, it's about how you find that. I think that's what dance teaches you. You're kind of given a box, but then you're free to play around inside that box. You're given a composition, and then you're free to figure out how you want to play with that rather than going, well, this is the only way, and this is where, you know what I mean? That's what freedom is to me. It's to make your own choices, to express yourself. And I think in India, I mean, it's not ideal, obviously, but I think that we have to be very thankful that we are allowed to be as outspoken and say what we want as we do. I mean, there are a lot more countries in the world that are much, much more oppressed and really need us to speak out for them rather than us just worrying about our own problems.
That was a very beautiful thought. But I just wanted to know more about your dancing. So, when did you first get interested in dance and what led you to dancing?
Okay, so I can pretty much say this off the top of my head because I've said it that many times. My mother's English from a little town called Leeds, just outside Manchester, and she learned Bharatanatyam in Perth, Western Australia, from my father's sister who went to Kalakshetra. So
Oh,
that's how my mom and dad met. And then after they got married, my mom was pregnant with me, and she actually went to dance class for a large percentage of her pregnancy. So I in vitro started my dancing minus 9 months. So I'm 33 years old. I'm 33 and a half. So I'm practically been dancing 34 months and 34 years and a month, I think, is like how long I've been dancing.
so can you talk to us a little about your journey from Perth to Kalakshetra?
I mean, it's such a, it was coming to Kalakshetra was such a different. Um, it was so different. It was 15 years ago. It was really before I feel like I've watched Chennai grow as a city. I've watched India grow as a nation while being here. I came when the internet wasn't a big thing. I came before everyone had colored phones. I came before apps. You know, we were in a hostel where we didn't have access to email, stuff that we take for granted every day now. And I actually think I'm very lucky for it because we really concentrated on our dance. We had nothing else to do. You could only procrastinate so much when you don't have access to stuff to procrastinate with, right? So like procrastination was practice because we had nothing else to do, and that was kind of it. It was a great time. I enjoyed myself. I hated it at the same time. It answered lots of questions. It made a million more questions. But it's something that I'm very proud of. It's something that I really, really am proud of, that I made it through 6 years of that. And yeah, Kalakshetra, like the Kalakshetra experience is a whole different thing. If you haven't been, it's kind of one of those things you have to go through it to understand, and even explaining it doesn't do justice to what the madness that 6 years is.
Okay, so who would you say are some of your biggest influences on your dance?
I think my biggest influence would be Leela Sampson or Leelaka. I was there. I was the first batch when she joined Kalakshetra as director. I was her first batch. When she
Oh,
left Kalakshetra, I left Kalakshetra. I was a part of her dance company. Yeah, I really just like where she went, I followed. As a part of the dance company for 5 years. Um, and she I don't know if you've met her, if you've spoken to her, if you've heard her, like if you hear her speak, everything she says is just so like on point that you're just kind of constantly learning from her, and it's a very immersive. I was very lucky. It was very immersive. It was very, there was no trajectory. There was no, well, I'm going to get this out of it. It was just going to class, good class rehearsal. It was going and learning stuff, but it was very organic. And I feel very lucky to have had that. So her influence, it's still, I don't dance in the company anymore, but it's still something I think of every day. I think Spanda and Leelaka are as big a part of my dance journey as Kalakshetra, if not more. Um, I'm inspired by lots of people. My teacher, Braga Bessel, who is the world's most wonderful human being, more than a teacher. I have inspirations in people like A. Lakshmanaswamy Anna, um, Jyotsna Jagannathan, Sudharma, Meenakshi Akka, you name it. I'm inspired by everyone. Like, I'm one of those kids. Perth is such a small town. I still get starstruck. I still get like really fangirl. I go, oh, do you know my name? When like they like, I remember when I met Ned Rajanaka and he was like, Nida and the Christopher Guruswamy Paya. I was like, oh, because I was like, how do you even know I exist? And like even now I get butterflies when I talk to anyone. Like Malaka, when a Malaka says hi, I'm like I forget to say hello. It's just like, uh, so yeah, I'm inspired by everyone. I think it's important to keep an open mind. I love watching young dancers, old dancers. I'm not like one or the other.
So you would say that you bring in a little bit of contemporary and modern ideologies into your dancing as well?
I think that I don't think I do it with a specific point of view to do it like that. I think it's very interesting for me when I look back at my journey in Kalakshetra. I was suddenly thrown into from being very Australian, I was expected to be very Indian very, very quickly and kind of learn how to be like that. And what I did was compartmentalize both those things. So being an NRI was bad, and being Indian was good. And so it took a lot of time for me to realize that I can put those things together, and that's unique. And that uniqueness is what's really inspiring for my own dance. So yeah, there is contemporary ideas, but it's not like I'm going to make this contemporary. It's just that my thinking and how I've been brought up and how I've been raised is just in a way that kind of channels that way. Does that make sense?
It does. So why don't you
yeah.
walk us through your entire thought process which goes behind choreographing a routine?
So it starts with Harry Potter. I'm not even lying. I enjoy watching a lot of, if I'm thinking of choreographing a piece, and a lot of my choreographies are Varnams because that's the main staple and they take a lot of time. I like thinking about it and then watching like a Harry Potter or a Disney film or something like that because they kind of take me back to my childhood. I grew up on that. I grew up before Disney became all those like computer animated films. Like my favorite film was Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid. So growing up with those kinds of, if you ever watch one of my choreographies, there'll always be a dream sequence because that's what happens in Disney films. There'll always be these dreams where you're just going like, well, isn't that from like, and I like that because that it just takes me to a very euphoric place. I think when you're a child, you don't think about rules. You just think about, especially me, I just danced. I didn't even know what I was dancing. I just moved. And I think putting yourself into that kind of place allows you to think outside of how you're conditioned to think as an adult. It sounds weird. I know it sounds weird, but
It
it
does
works.
not.
It doesn't. It makes a lot of sense.
I swear, if you ever want to try and choreograph something, try it because it works really well for me. And it's also like I've watched the Harry Potter films so much that I know them, so I'm not paying. It's that procrastination thing I was telling you about. Like I'm half paying attention, half choreographing a sweater in my head, and because I know what's happening, I'm not in it, and I'm not trying to
Out of
force something out. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's
It's
a really
quite
nice place to be. Yeah, it's that place of procrastination where your brain's not thinking that you have to make, but you just are creative a bit. It's a good impulse, I think.
So one thing that dancers always talk about is like being a neutral body and then you take on your characters. So do you think Bharatnatyam is used as a tool to deconstruct gender and the norms that exist?
I think so. I think that that's gender. And look, first of all, I have to acknowledge that I'm very privileged to be talking about gender in the way that I talk about it. I was raised I was raised in a family with both parents. I was raised socio and economically. Um, we weren't struggling. All of those things factor into how you look at gender, and to deny that is really, really, it's not a nice way to look at it. But so my privilege allows me to look at gender in an interesting way, and I perceive Bharatanatyam to break down those things. It is very, for me, I don't think of dance as male or female or masculine or feminine. I kind of just look at a composition and go, that's a really interesting idea I want to explore. I think that openness, there's an androgyny with Bharatanatyam that I think is beautiful. I've seen Leelaka do very masculine items, and she is the most beautiful woman in the world. But when she takes that character on, his character is no longer Leela Sampson. Braga Bethel is the same way. When you watch Braga Kita do, she's short, but when you watch her do like a very seductive Javali, she's suddenly a 6 foot tall Naomi Campbell model standing at the doorway welcoming a lover. I think you can go above your gender, you can go above those things. It just requires a thought process that allows you to do that. And like I said, it's a very privileged way of thinking. It's not the average. And yeah, but it is definitely possible. Does that answer your question? I'm so sorry. I get so
Yeah,
freaked
it
out
does.
by these things that I'm going like everywhere. But yeah, it's
No,
it's
no, it's okay.
possible, just privileged, and that's important.
So you've
So
spoken of. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so
Christopher. Ah, sorry, the squeaky guy has to come right now. Yeah, no, but sorry. This is why I shouldn't be.
Parvati, you can go if you have
No,
to
no,
Are
get
you
okay.
social distancing?
He's wearing a mask. I'm going to cover my mouth quickly. This is very. This is what it is to be a dancer. This is exactly what it is to be a dancer. Like you get to that point, and then like my new dog Ruby will then decide to like run around me 4 times just as I get into it. This is what it is to literally be a dancer, to like juggle 500 things at the same time while trying to keep dalam. And it's not like it doesn't happen on stage. On stage, there are all kinds of things happening, and you're just going, no, no, the jet is coming, the jet is coming, the jet is coming. So yeah, sorry.
Okay, so one more thing that I wanted to ask is, can you use Bharatnatyam, like the exploration of gender in Bharatnatyam, to explore gender in normal settings? Do you think it can work the other way around?
I'm so sorry. I don't understand. Can you
Okay,
sorry?
so
Repeat it again?
I'm sorry. So when we talk about Bharatnatyam, you said that we take a neutral role, we take on any gender space, and you just get into that mode. So
Mhm.
can we use that kind of thought process to understand gender from a sociological perspective? And can we use Bharatnatyam as an expression to explore that?
Um, sorry, I'm just trying to like deconstruct your question. That is a very full-on question.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I think that what I've learned. So all I can talk about is my perspective. What I've understood. Okay. So I feel like I've really started exploring Abhinaya in a very meaningful way over the past 3 years. Like I've I've been with Braga Teacher for 10 years, but I've really only started paying real attention to those classes recently. And I feel like it happens to dancers. There's a time when you need to go into something, and that time is now. So I think with this idea of understanding what characterization is and how to enter the spirit of a character versus the gender of that character, what that does is it changes your perspective of life. I think it does change how you look at people. I mean, I don't think that I'm someone that looks at a person or regards them because of their gender. It doesn't really factor into my mind. I'm not perceiving your orientation. I'm not perceiving, anything. So I think that that's what dance can give you. And I also think that um, there's a big stereotype about male dancers specifically where we're effeminate, we're considered effeminate, we're considered pansies. Lots of us are thought of as gay, and whether we are or not is really like I don't think it makes a difference because what you're performing on stage is an art. Like I don't think who you sleep with really factors into what you do on stage. Like I really think they're two separate things. Um, Myself, I think I my dancing is quite masculine. My what we can call pure dance is very masculine, but I do most pieces are female based narratives. So where do you find, like, for me, I like that. I like that I can jump around and then like bang, I'm back to just saying to a king or a god, I love you so much. There's no if it's comfortable for me, it's comfortable for the audience. And I think that the more that male dancers take those risks to do female based or feminine inspired pieces and do them in a way that's true. I think that one thing is that there's uh, this idea that to do a feminine piece, you suddenly have to stand like this. Like I've never ever seen a girl in my life stand like they just stand like this the whole time. And you're like, what's happening? Like there are no women that stand like, they don't all stand like this the whole time looking. And I think that and you know what I mean? Like you know what I'm talking about. I think when you do it like that, then you're cheapening the woman, which I completely disagree with. I think that women are amazing. They're just mind-bogglingly strong. And men have suppressed women in society in a way that is just absolutely stupid to me. So for you to then go on stage and go like that is like what are you doing? So when you take a female piece, I think it is to make the woman look stronger and give her a voice that she might not have in the most meaningful and honest way possible. That does justice to the form. That's when we start to make gender. I think it's such a it's such a problem because while you want to talk about gender, you also don't want to talk about gender because the more you talk about gender, I feel like the more walls you're building up. Why not just look at it as dance? Like I don't, like why not just go, it's dance. That's it, It's not, oh, he'll do a male this, a female this. This year in Music Academy, I did a piece where I was a Rakshasa and a monkey. I was Hanuman and Ravana. I mean, I was not a boy at any point of this program. I was a girl. I was Radha. I was Radha's best friend, Hanuman and Ravana. Where am I a man in all of those things? Like, where am I this, man? I'm not. And it was great. I loved it because I wasn't ever going like, "Rrr." Sometimes as a dancer, I have to like man up. I get told all the time, konjo masculine panla. I'm like, okay. Gender is subjective, and I think that the more that we see a variety of gender expressions in dance, that it becomes inclusive, and that's also inclusive of the language that we use. That we use the correct kind of pronouns when we're talking about pieces. That we're not that yeah, that we're not making mockeries and stereotyping women in a way that's just meaningless. So yeah, did that answer your question? Your question was so hard.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
fine. Thank
yes,
you.
it
Kick it off
did.
before I start
We have
going
a
around.
question from one of our viewers here. So I think it's on your screen, so if you could please answer that.
So it could be a great starting point to understand as well the genders. Yeah, I mean, like, again, that question, it's a great question, but it's gendered. I'm talking about like for my favorite piece, and I've just done a TED talk all about this piece, is a Tamil padam called Yarukagilam Bayama. I don't know if you guys know it, but what it is this. It's an 18th century Tamil padam by Madurai Kavi, and this woman is walking to meet her lover, and all of the people in the town are gossiping about her, and she just says, "Why should I? Why should I care what anyone says about me? I love him. He loves me. Then who are you to say anything about that? Is it some secret? Is this love some secret to hide? Is it something that I need to, It's such a great message because it's so relevant to today. So why I love that piece is not because she is a badass Nayika. She's like, I love the sass, but I love the character more. I love what she's saying. I'm not thinking of, well, now I get to be a really beautiful woman that walks through town. I'm going, no, I get to say something that I really believe in, That's important. That's what I'm saying is the message and the language of the piece is what should inform your decision to do it. It shouldn't be female, male. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to specifically explore female pieces. It's the characters. How does that evolve? How does that make my mind evolve? That's the end of that answer.
So, do you think that Bharatanatyam can be used as a space for the exploration and expression, considering that the whole sexual history cannot be erased, and you speak about removing the gender bias and not including gender itself in the art form? So, what about the whole history? What about the classical pieces which already exist and are an inspiration to so many people?
I'm so sorry. I didn't really fully understand your question. Can you just break it up into two parts? Are you saying that the history of the form, but look, I think that right now in the dance world, it's very important that people like me stop talking about the history of dance. It's really important that we shut up because there are a lot of people from the communities, the hereditary dancing communities, that need to talk about the history from their perspective. So I'm not gonna suggest to understand their perspective. It's really important that we acknowledge them because they are who have let us talk. Those are the people who have led us to this conversation right now that we're talking about. My only discussion can be about how I understand the form that I love. Like I said, yeah. To answer your question, denying the history of Bharatanatyam makes no sense because you have to know where you came from to be able to move forward. And I think everyone would agree with that. How we view pieces again is marred by our privilege. How I view Miyarakagan and Bayama is all because of the privileges and how I've thought about it. There are people who may not agree with me. There are lots of people I'm sure who disagree with my point of view, and that's cool. Because that's what arts are. The arts are points of view that you're sharing with people. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much.
Done. Okay.
So that brings us to an end. Ananya, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm done.
So is there...
Huh?
So your insights and sharings will go a long way in inspiring our young Rakshans when they look at their own lives and they try to make meaning of their experiences and actually strive for true independence. And on that note, I'd like to tell you a little more about Sakshi, and who is through the Rakshan project in the process of engaging with over 40 lakh youth across our country, and we're working towards stopping child sexual abuse. We have a very simple maxim that I'd like to share with you. ना करेंगे ना करने देंगे, हो रहा है तो रोक के रहेंगे, और अगर हुआ है तो बोल के रहेंगे.
Do you understand Hindi?
No, not at all.
Okay.
A little bit. I got a little bit of it, but it was whoa.
I shall translate it for you. So, na karenge, na karne denge. We won't do it. We won't allow others to do it. हो रहा है तो रोक के रहेंगे. If it's happening, we will stop it. और अगर हुआ है तो बोल के रहेंगे. And if it has happened, we will speak up about it.
That's great.
So I would also like to share about Sakshi's campaign, which is Make Home a Safe Space, and it's on Keto. So please visit that and encourage us to create a Rakshan in each home who is capable of de-escalating violence and preventing child sexual abuse. I would also like to invite you, Christopher, and our viewers here to join our Freeview webinar that happens every Sunday. It's happening even tomorrow, but tomorrow is in Hindi. So I would suggest to go to the the one the
I'll
week
wait for
after.
the next one. But I'll definitely be part of it. I'd love to hear.
Thank you so much. So this is for anyone who wants to be part of the movement and just is against child sexual abuse and wants to be a Rakshan. So would you call yourself a Rakshan?
Not yet, but I hope to be, because I think it is a very, very, very important thing for us all to be a part of.
Thank you so
I will
much.
be at the English version for sure.
The crow agrees too.
Huh?
The crow in your background agrees too. The crow wants to be a Rakshan.
Chennai, we're all for it.
So that brings us to the end of today's live, and I would like to thank you for coming on board with us and engaging in this beautiful conversation with us. I would also like to thank Ritu Rastogi and Supratim Sen from R2, which is a US-based entertainment company, for supporting this live. I would also like to thank Fire Events for the support. So today we at Sakshi leave you with a small pledge that we, the Rakshans of India, are taking a step towards preventing child sexual abuse and making home a safe space. Hope you will enjoy the rest of the program today. Thank you and stay tuned.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay at home, stay safe, we were told. But what if homes are not safe for 1 out of 2 children in our country? Sakshi has been working to make homes safe for the last 28 years. At this critical time, we've stepped up what we've been doing, because every home has to be a safe space.